I'm your host, Nova Mbayamonte, and we're here at the Tribeca Film Festival for the New York City premiere of The Courtroom. How are you feeling this evening?
Oh, nervous.
Nervous? Why? I'm sure you did an amazing job.
Thank you. I mean, it's different seeing it with people, you know. I did see some clips of it with my husband in the privacy of our living room on a laptop. So yeah, and it's been a while since we shot it. So it's like, oh, that happened. That's right, or I did that, and then you're also thinking, oh, I missed my friend. Right. Yeah. So a little nervous, but very exciting. Very exciting. Very excited that a lot more people will get to see it, and that the people who have seen it in the theater version can now see a different, but still very much the same interpretation of the same story.
What was the greatest challenge when it came to this role, being that it is a real-life character?
It's a lot scarier. I think there's a lot more pressure of getting it right, or, I mean, that getting it right should really be fictional or non-fictional, right? These are people, this person came out of a writer's mind, writer's imagination, probably writer's background, but this time around, because she's living, she's around, she saw the show, I'm sure she'll see the film. Yeah, there's a little bit of it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but at the end of the day, what I got to do is just play it as honestly as possible, with no judgment, with an open heart and a lot of empathy.
How do you approach this character, being that this is such an important story? Do you get so much empathy with that? What was the research like? Just your overall process as an actor?
Oh, absolutely. This actually didn't really occur to me until I got older, of like the reason why I do this when I get to is so people can feel that they're not alone, whatever the circumstances, right? If I'm playing a lovesick character, someone's going through a heartbreak, you know, showing that, being that, and then sharing it with whatever medium, theater, TV, or film, someone out there will say, oh, I'm not alone, I know exactly what that feels. And this particular story, it's not often told, right? The immigrant story. Most of the time what we hear, and as we should, I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but like people leaving their countries because of war, because of poverty, because of the drug cartels. You know, you rarely hear about stories that are quieter. That's not necessarily a matter of life and death, but what I hope people will get away from this is that it is important nonetheless. It still does feel life and death. I'm an immigrant myself. I did not go through what Elizabeth did. It was my choice to come here, but my gosh, was it difficult.
Perfect. How are you doing this evening?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. So congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to know, what are you looking most forward to?
I'm just excited to see this film with an audience. It's really, there's a lot of tension in it, and it's can be pretty upsetting and frustrating, and I'm really excited to see how a crowd responds to it.
Definitely. I would love to know, as an actor, what drew you to this role, and why was it so important to tell this specific story?
I was really drawn to, I think, the heart in this family. You really feel like they love each other, and that they're a good family, a good couple, that they're right for each other, and that this was just an honest mistake. The movie deals with a woman who accidentally says on a form that she's a citizen of the United States, and then becomes a registered voter because at the DMV she's asked, do you want to register to vote? And she says yes, assuming that this government clerk, this government official wouldn't ask her if she wasn't allowed to. And she ends up almost being deported. And so I think it's important because there's so much bureaucracy and like red tape often, when dealing with the government, and often people's lives are just destroyed and taken for granted because a human accident. And I think this film really speaks to that, people can lose so much. Even though she technically broke the law, she wasn't a U.S. citizen, and she said she was and ticked this box on a form, but she didn't know. And I don't know, that was just really compelling to me.
It wasn't ill-intentioned, so.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to know what were some challenges with this role and maybe some things that surprised you. And being that this is a real life story, I want to know what was that challenge with getting into character?
I would say the biggest challenge is it's a verbatim transcript of the real court proceedings, and people have a funny way of speaking naturally. You know, we don't speak often in full, complete sentences with proper grammar. We pause and have tangents and go back and repeat ourselves and sometimes use the wrong word, especially when we're nervous, like you would be on trial, and when when your wife might be deported. The script was very jumbled and confusing, and so how to make sense of that and coherently tell a story while being truthful to what actually happened.
So how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here for this.
And I'd love to congratulate you. It's obviously the premiere evening, and what are you most looking forward to?
Well, actually, I got to bring my mom tonight, and she actually went through a lot of the immigration process coming here from another country. So it's just a special thing to be able to bring her here.
Without getting even too personal, would you mind sharing maybe some of, not her experiences, but some of the emotions that she went through?
Well, she obviously came here in a different time. I mean, both my parents are actually immigrants from, my dad from Europe, from Belgium, my mom from Korea, and they both grew up as war children in their respective countries. And they came here to start a new life. My dad actually became an immigration lawyer, and that's actually how they met in New York. She was trying to bring some of her sisters over from Korea, and it's a complicated process, and hopefully this film tells a story of hope and a story about how complicated and difficult it can be. And
what was your greatest challenge, being that this is a real story, you're not playing like a fictional character, and what was your kind of research approach to it?
Well, it's actually really a personal joy to be working on documentary material that's transcript material. So it's actually really liberating to. I think the best we can do is not to over dramatize or perform or sentimentalize anything, and that's a fucking dream, as an actor. Yeah.
And it is very humanizing of the immigrant story, which I definitely love. Yeah.
It is for sure, and it's also about a system that is set up to benefit people, to help people. Everyone can have the best of intentions in it, and it can still be complicated and difficult,
And my last question is, what do you hope that the audience takes away from this film?
All I hope is that it creates some interest and takes a thing that a lot of us think about abstractly and brings it into a sort of real human realm.
First of all, congratulations for this evening. This is a huge thing, the premiere. I want to know, what does your process look like as a director in regards to creating your vision?
Oh, thanks. It's so different for every project, so sometimes it's hard to kind of sum it up, but really it's about, just drilling down as deeply as possible to thinking like what is going to activate this particular story to feel the most alive, electric, kind of gripping. So what about the story can we activate in the most kind of like electric way with how we choose to build the world around it?
Definitely. And I would love to know, as a director, do you take more of a laissez-faire approach, or do you like for the actors to come up with you and collaborate with you?
I have a really collaborative relationship with actors, and I have found that actors are like incredible partners in kind of going back and forth about they're inside it, and so they understand and have some knowledge that I don't have from the outside, and also having a really honest relationship with them back about what is happening, what the audience is getting from the other side. And I really appreciate the deep collaborations I've been able to build with a lot of actors, including the actors in this film, some of whom I've worked with many times over the course of a dozen years. So I really value those deep relationships.
And what would you say was the greatest challenge with creating this, being that it is based on a true story that's very different from having a fictional story?
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge was really trusting that the quiet, tense, sometimes banal moments that were very, very rooted in the real way that an immigration court works and very rooted in the details of the way the transcripts, that was the like true north to follow for the film, and that was always going to be the most interesting thing. So just holding on to that through a very long process of making the film.
And my last question, what do you hope that the audience takes away from this film?
Oh, I hope that they have a really different relationship to the idea of what immigration court is like in the United States, and that this is an opportunity to kind of reframe just like our emotional human response to what immigration court is like, and that Elizabeth's story is something that people think about and kind of carry with them like for many years, and that maybe 10 years from now something about Elizabeth's story like pops up into someone's memory or mind because of how emotionally impacted they were by watching what she went through. So that's my hope.
Definitely important. Thank you so much, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
How are you doing this evening?
Good. Yourself?
Good. So I want to congratulate
Thank
you. And I know that you're a Tony-nominated actor, and this time you took a little bit of that back and you basically wrote. So I want to know, what was that like, taking that sort of cap?
Yeah, I mean, I love that most people think of me as an actor. You're something from the theater world, and I really appreciate that. But, I'm really just I'm trying to tell stories and trying to, as cliche as that sounds, just trying to like better society through art as best as we can. And the courtroom was just something that felt like more of a necessity than trying to like make something happen out of no reason. You know what I mean? So it was really, really kind of that's really kind of like led this whole thing to this moment.
And also as a writer for Secession and also for Inventing Anna, I want to know, what was that process like when it came to this set?
I mean, it was crazy. You know what was crazy? I was shooting Inventing Anna on a Monday in the scene, which was the last scene that I'm in, which is the scene with Anna Klumsky and I, Vivian, and we're at the Brooklyn Bridge right there at the end there. Our last scene, yeah. And then a week later, we started shooting the courtroom there. It's St. Anne's Warehouse, yeah.
Definitely a full circle moment.
Yeah. And while we were on set for Inventing Anna, this is a true story, I would go into St. Anne's and just like, how many bathrooms are here? Where is the lighting fixture? Where is the electricity? Yeah, exactly.
I love that, and it's so diverse with your different sets going on.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know, basically, what is your process like as a writer? Do you get kind of idea? Do you collaborate with others? Do you kind of need to have your own space to create, or how does that work for you?
Honestly, all those things that you just mentioned are true. Every single one of them. Sometimes I need to be by myself and just like work through draft after draft after draft. Sometimes I need to just come in and with a thing like the courtroom, just like come in, do the thing, and then leave. Like really that case, so Richard Haynes's case with the courtroom was so specific and so moving to me as I was reading it that it felt like this doesn't need anything but just editing, like putting this all into a little bit of a box. And so it depends on every process, but I love the process of writing because I really just want to tell stories of people that don't usually have a voice in this world. I love those kind of stories. And I grew up as an Iranian immigrant. We watched a lot of Bollywood movies. We watched a lot of Iranian movies. We watched a lot of American movies. Like, there's a lot to empathize with, a lot of other ideas that are out there. So, yeah.
I'd love to know, definitely as an immigrant, what sort of empathy did you bring to that, and what kind of research did you bring to this project, being that it is a real story?
As an immigrant whose parents, had a really hard time speaking English, as a translator of my family at the age of like 10, if not younger, really what was the most remarkable thing about this is that watching Elizabeth Keathley on the trial and having her kind of have other people around her talk about, does she speak English or not? It really just goes to the heart of what happens to every immigrant all the time. I mean, to this day, there are moments where my mom and I are in the same room and a waiter is only speaking to me. Does she want this? Does she want that? And I think if people can realize that just, a language skill that's learned much later in life is really effing hard. It doesn't mean that, we don't have to hate on everyone. They're just trying the best they can. And they're usually grateful to be here, so.
So how are you doing this evening?
Fantastic.
Amazing.
I'm excited to see my two co-stars, Arian, who I do Ms. Marvel with, and then Stephanie, who I'm on Orange is the New Black with. So it's amazing to support extraordinary artists that you love.
I love that. And why is this story so important to tell, especially being that it's a real life story?
I think the more we can tell the truth and share the truth with the guidance of someone like Arian, who does it with such compassion and listening, like tell the truth with deep listening. And that allows us all to listen to one another more.
Really? I would love to know, what is that acting community like? Do you all go to each other's presentations?
We do. We try and really support each other as much as we can. Laith is here, who's also on Ms. Marvel. Dennis O'Hare, I'm sure you just spoke to, just did selected stories at Symphony Space, and both Ariana and I were asked to do, we all love playing together. Michael Chernus is here, who I love playing with. It's a big, fun family. Yeah.
A whole community.
It is.
And I want to know, being that you know that it's a real life story, what do you hope that the audience takes away from this, or what are you hoping to take away from it?
I think for me, I am an activist in this space, in immigration and in abolition, and it is my hope that audiences see this film, see the injustices of our legal system at this moment, that it is the criminal injustice system as opposed to the criminal justice system, and that they join us in activism. And that can be making art, and that can be marching, and that can be making calls and talking to your representatives and visiting your representatives. I hope it empowers people to take action.
As an actress, is that something that you consciously look out for?
All the time. And it's the biggest gift, Ms. Marvel is the first ever Muslim superhero, and to see the Muslim community as heroes as opposed to how we as a culture in the past have so mutilated that vision in a horrible way. It's interesting. In the world of Marvel, I want to say that we've mutated how we see it, right?
We appreciate it.
But the truth is, Muslims are beautiful, extraordinary human beings, and many are superheroes in their real lives, just like any community, just like the Jewish community, just like, we're all spectacular human beings, and every community has their problems, and every community has their superhero.
I love that. Art with a purpose.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and enjoy.
Pleasure. Thank you.
So, what are you most looking forward to this evening?
I'm just excited to see it. I haven't seen it. I'm a big fan of Waterwell and known Arian for a million years, and so I'm just excited to see it.
So when you're choosing what to see, why was this story so important to tell?
Well, I think it's a powerful story, and the people involved with it I know are legit, and not that everyone's legit, but I know them and I know what their sort of purpose is and stuff. So. That's what it was.
Amazing. And what do you hope that the audience perhaps takes away from this film, being that it is a real life story?
That's a hard question. I think everyone takes away what they take away, but I hope they're affected by it, moved by it, activated by it, and agitated by it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.